Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys to having your best possible life. And it's freedomthroughastrology.com. My name is Donald Patak. I'm your astrologer. There's my contact information. Copyright by me, and it's standard YouTube copyright. The keys to the reading. I read astrology just a little bit different. So if you're watching this and you're saying, this sounds different than other things I've heard, it's because it is. First of all, I read what's called constellational or sidereal. I dislike CLF. I actually have it, so. So sidereal or constellational astrology, it's astrology by the visible sky. Tropical astrology fixes the signs to seasons. I read the planets in the constellations where they are in the visible sky. Number two, I use the natural size of the signs. Some astrologers, and I know in Vedic astrology, they make each sign 30 degrees, and there are some tropical astrologers and other astrologers who use 30 degrees per sign, where in the visible sky, Virgo is 48-ish degrees. Aries is less than 25. They're all over the place. So I'm using the natural size of the signs, and I use astrological midpoints as developed by Athen Shemanti. What Athen did is he looked at the zodiac belt, the last bright star of one constellation, the first bright star of the next constellation, and he bisected them, low creative geometry, and came up with a midpoint, because what some astrologers use are the IAU boundaries, which are kind of just drawn. I mean, I don't know what the basis behind them are, but these seem to be more natural, and from down here, they feel more natural to me, and I notice them a little bit more accurate, so I do like them. I read 13 signs. The missing sign, or the sign that was removed, is called a fucus. It's the wounded healer. It exists between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So this is where you're wounded in your life, and it's the symbol of a man holding a snake. In ancient times, the snake symbolized knowledge. Excuse me. The snake symbolized knowledge. So this is a man or an individual who seized control of snake because it's head and the tail, and he's using it to first heal himself and then heal others with similar wounds. So it's where you're wounded in your life so you can heal yourself and serve as a model and mentor to others. These are the weekly transits, so universal lessons. So I'm giving you the keys here to having a good week and how you can navigate this week and have a successful week. So these are universal lessons. These are lessons for everyone. It's going to be planet and a sign. I'm not going to do houses because it would be insanely long, because everybody's chart is different, but you can get the big picture. I interpret using evolutionary astrology, which says these are lessons to learn. There are some people who use it more for fortune telling. Evolutionary astrology says that the planets, the signs, even the houses are teachers here offering lessons, and these are the lessons for you to learn so you can have a successful life. And I was asked about the timing and the dates, and this is based on the Eastern US time zone where I live. So your mileage may vary. And hold on 1 second. This is for the week of June 24th. Why did I forget to change that? In practice, I remembered it. June 24th through June 30th. And so what we have is the moon is moving from Capricorn through Aries. This is going to be a very nice, slow and steady week. The majority of the week, the moon is going to be in Pisces. So this is going to be a much stabler week than last week, where the moon was all over the place. It's only going through 4 signs, and Pisces is going to be the bulk of the week. So this is very good. And we're not going to hit Aries until Sunday. So again, a very stable week. We will have the last quarter moon in Pisces this week. So be releasing that. Sign change. Mercury just ripped through Gemini, and it will be entering Cancer late Sunday night Eastern time. So he's just a fast little guy. He's gone. Active this week. Mercury and Venus are the two big actors of this week. So learning and relationships and working with other people going to be very important this week. They're going to be planets going to be aspect to Mars, courage, Uranus, individuality, Chiron, healing, and the nodes of the moon. And I'll get into these individually, but nodes of the moon are releasing the past so you can embrace your future. And retrograde, big change here. Saturn moves retrograde this week, late this week, and Pluto is retrograde and will be so for most of the rest of this year. So with that, let's look at the graph for the week. This is our weekly overview. As you can see, number one, the transits are nice and steady. There's more clustered towards the weekend, but still, I mean, it's a nice, easy pace all week long. You get this little, you got that the Venus squaring the nodes in the beginning of the week. I have no idea why it didn't come up on this particular chart. Getting it looked into, but anytime a planet squares one, it automatically squares the other. It's just the nature of the beast. But as you can see, nice steady week, and even the moon, starts in Capricorn Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday. It's in Aquarius. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday, it's in Pisces. And then Sunday, I think Sunday afternoon, it moves into Aries. We should move those back and forth depending on what time of the day that happens. But as moon, a nice steady week. The transits all nice and steady. So it's not going to be an overwhelming week or anything. And like I said, one sign change happening late Sunday night. And if you're Eastern time zone, chances are you'll be in happy land dreaming. All right, so we begin this week with the moon in Capricorn. And the moon entered Capricorn late on Sunday night, and this is in what they call the waning cycle, which is a releasing cycle. So the moon is up to accepting a challenge, and it's up to releasing things that are no longer serving it. It's looking at a challenge that is worthy of its time and commitment, and knowing it can take self-discipline to succeed in this. Capricorn likes a challenge, and it's about letting go of the tasks that have been completed and it's no longer worth working on, or you've completed the task, let it go, move on, time to move on to something else. Release from your workload tasks that are not serving your greater purpose. I think that's the great challenge here, is if it's not serving your greater purpose and your greater growth, time to let it go and move on. Be careful about being a control freak, especially of those around you. Capricorn can be a control freak, and the moon, moody, we're talking in the shadow, the moon gets moody, and being a moody control freak, bad thing. So take time to evaluate what is no longer serving you emotionally, and time to move on and let that go so that you can embrace a challenge that is. Monday, nice calm day, and Tuesday, excuse me. Tuesday, we have the moon in the nodes, and we're going to first focus on excuse me, this part of it. So a square is a challenge, and Mercury is about learning and communication, and in the sign of Gemini where it rules, it's all about learning and communication. So that's kind of exclamation point. So it's real focus on learning, and the North Node is an evolutionary intention. So at this point in time, you're learning to, or I'm sorry, this is Venus, my bad. Venus, it's been one of those days. Venus is about relationship and creativity. I am so sorry. So it's learning about relationship and creativity. Mercury comes up later. It's about learning about relationships and creativity. And the challenge is to see your relationships from a different perspective, see them from a higher perspective, and to learn to live and let be. Let people be who they are, see them from, learn how to live and let be or let go in relationships, because sometimes, relationships here, they can be let go of. Time to let go, let go. Let people be who they are becoming and accept the change. So people are going to be releasing things in their lives. That's okay. The North Node is about, the North Node in Pisces is about seeing things from different perspectives, seeing what you need to keep, what you can let go of. And Pisces can be a sign where release does happen. So And that perspective is very important. So being able to see the challenge of seeing your relationships from a different perspective and seeing creativity. Venus is also about creativity. So seeing creativity, maybe new ways of being creative, and the challenge of that, because we're humans, we get stuck in our ruts. And so a square can be that challenge. And the shadow of this, Venus can be a control freak and manipulative, and North Node in Pisces can be living a fantasy. You're thinking everything's going okay and fine in your relationships, and really they're not. So learn how to live and let go, see things from a higher perspective, how things could improve. I said it could be applied creativity, learning new ways of being creative. Otherwise, it is possible to fall into a fantasy about what exists, and it could dissolve and disappear, and you wouldn't even know why. How did this happen? What's going on? So there is that. So that's part one. Oops, I got to close this out. Gosh, clear drawings. Forgot about that. And I'm going to tie this all together with the North Node at the South Node at the end. So we have Venus in Taurus squaring the South Node in Virgo, and Venus is learning about relationships, and the South Node in Virgo is about perfectionism and holding things to unrealistic expectations, being critical, fussy, negative, etc. So this is holding your this challenge of seeing how you're holding relationships to unrealistic expectations and how that can create problems in relationships. Because again, we're human, we like controlling things that we really shouldn't be. But this is about trying to, this is about the challenge of seeing how are you trying to control your relationships. And if I want to put this big picture, and this gets to be, this is a T-square. So this is literally, if I draw this line straight down here, Venus is, that makes it, a nice right angle-ish here. Venus is literally caught between a rock and a hard place in this situation. Think of you've got a carpenter's vise, and you put a nut in it. If you keep think of like a walnut, and you keep cranking on it until it gets held in place, and you start applying pressure, and it can get crushed and then ground into dust. Or think of a piece of coal being under incredible pressure and being forced into being a diamond. So this is Venus is being challenged here. It's caught between a rock and a hard place. One or two things is going to happen. Venus can realize in your relationships, you can learn and realize how you're being a control freak and decide to release that and say, I'm going to let go of that and learn to see my relationships from a different perspective. The benefit of doing that is your relationships can go from being what they are, which hopefully they're good, and that pressure can actually, working through all that pressure and that tension, that can create a diamond, something that is very valuable. So this could run the chance of actually creating better relationships and making them more valuable. The shadow of this is Venus can sit down and still be hypercritical and shadow the North Node, living in a fantasy that this is okay and everything's okay. And in which case the relationships can get weakened, crushed, fall to dust, and blow away. So, and think about squares. I always say this, and it's a good reminder. When you look at the pyramids of Egypt, bad history there. Pyramids of Egypt, they look like giant triangles, which are strong, of course. When you get up close, they're built on squares, and it's that tension that keeps them locked in place. So facing these challenges could strengthen your relationships, or it could destroy them. Your choice. And let me clear the drawings. Close that out. And there we go. Also on Tuesday, and this gets real interesting and kind of adds to the flavor of that previous transit, the moon is entering Aquarius. And again, this is that waning or releasing cycle of the moon. So emotionally, people are releasing things that are not authentic to them. And so that they can become who they are as individuals. So they're released, like, okay, and also releasing the need for having approval of others. So emotionally, they're saying, this isn't real. This isn't who I really am. I'm going to let that go. I don't need this person's approval. It doesn't serve me. So, and in doing so, they're becoming more authentic. So this is for you. This is for everybody. And that's what's happening is emotionally people are becoming more authentic. The shadow of this, and the moon can be very moody, and it can do in Aquarius, it can act out and be wildly rebellious, rebel without a clue or a cause, and act to stick out like a sore thumb and just do things to push people's buttons and provoke a reaction. Or it can become the ultra conformist and try to fit in, being a square peg in a round hole. So it's kind of interesting that this moon, individuality, and people wanting to be and learning to be more of an individual is occurring during that Venus T-square. It ties in really nice. So look to tie this Aquarian moon into that T-square, look to see how people are becoming more individualized and more authentic. Recognize that, stop trying to control them, let them be their individual selves and see that from a different perspective, and watch how that helps strengthen the relationships. I think that's like really cool. When I saw that, I was like, my friend Dr. Danny loves Venus. She's a Venus expert. I know she's gonna love it when she sees this, because this really, really ties in nicely. Wednesday, here's that Mercury in Gemini that was crossing my mind before. Mercury's in Gemini is in a trine. This is an easy aspect to work with. Put in a little, get a lot. You walk up to the slot machine, put in your quarter, whatever, pull the lever and win a jackpot or something. Mercury in Gemini is learning and communication. So you're learning about what Saturn, maturing in self-discipline, in what becoming your authentic self. So this could be, and trines are easy. So you're learning about how to be your authentic self, and you're going to be in situations where it's going to allow you potentially to be your authentic self and present your authentic self to the world. This could be very, very great. And this is going to be a quick transit as well. Any transit with Mercury usually is really fast. Unless it's with the sun, never mind. I'm off on a tangent. I love chasing rabbit holes. So there's that. So this is a chance for you to learn about your authentic self. The shadow of this, Mercury can be a know-it-all or can't learn and endlessly chatter. And in Gemini, I mean, that's just like chattering. That's like a chipmunk on espresso shots chattering. And it's just shutting everything down. I can't learn and I don't want to listen to it. And not to learn, thinking that you know everything about who you really are and missing key information and falling into other people's expectations or acting out in a way that's just not who you really are. And like I said, it's an easy transit, easy transit. Little bit in, a lot comes out, and this is like going down a slide that's all covered in grease. It's a quick road to disaster, and watching things go wrong fast. Being that know-it-all, thinking you know everything, and you're about who you really are, and then finding out that you're not. Bad things can happen quick here. So there's that. Thursday, read more carefully here. Venus in Gemini is in trine to Mars in Aries. And this is the courage, having the courage to learn about relationships and being excited about learning relationships. Venus is about relationships. Mars is about learning courage and assertiveness. And Aries, the lesson learned and served. So this is kind of like a big exclamation point here. So this may be standing up for yourself in relationships, or having the courage to maybe make new friends, or or get to know people better. So a lot of different ways to read this, and it's a sextile, so it's an excitement, and ooh, this could be fun. This is again a different type of easy, a little, so it's an excitement, it's an interest. Again, this is one of the easy transits. They say sextiles are one of the easy ones. So a little bit of excitement can go a long way here, and you can actually find it easy to be, to have the courage to maybe meet somebody new, or to be yourself in your relationships, or to learn new things about your friends and family members, etc. And that's the key thing here is Venus in Gemini is learning about that. Also, Venus is also about creativity. So having the courage to learn a new way of being creative, maybe in your arts and stuff. Oh, I know what that is. I got these weird spots on my screen. I was like, how did that happen? It's like, oh, never mind. I know what happened. Not going to regale you with the story. So, but there's that. Now the shadow. Shadow Venus can be slick and manipulative and lazy. And Mars in Aries is just fear on steroids. And it can be explosive anger, or it can be total cowardice and fear and whatever. So it can be forceful manipulation, or you're trying to be that backhanded, sneaky person trying to do something in relationships. But know that it's not a good thing. And what do we have here? Be careful of pointless conflict or hiding away in relationships, or thinking you really know who someone is. This is just going to be the shadow of this is just going to ruin relationships, and it could also, ruin your, people's perception of you. Something else I was going to say. Yeah, leave it at that. But yeah, fearful relationships, or not being willing to try something new in creativity in your art, music, etc. Falling into that fear and not willing to. So that's the other shadow there. I think that's what it was. But excuse me. But yeah, there we go. And Thursday, we have the moon entering Pisces, and this is still that releasing cycle, that waning cycle. And the moon is, and emotionally is ready to release old inspirations and old things that are no longer inspiring, so that it, little house cleaning here, so that it can find a new vision and new inspiration. So, sorry about that. So yeah, so this is the moon. This is your emotions. It can be your soul as well. But Faith, where is that? I just lost it. There we go. Is offering, so we're looking at a fresh vision, releasing old vision so you can embrace a new vision. That's what this is about. Let go of the old visions, move and be prepared to move in a new direction. Opportunities to grow may be appearing, and emotional growth. Moon is always about your emotions, about your soul. So it's inspirations, emotional inspiration to find more about, to learn more in that way. Be careful of numbing yourself to inspiration, taking the easy way out, falling into fantasy or buying into somebody else's fantasy. That's just the shadow. Friday, Mercury in Gemini squaring Chiron in Pisces. So Mercury, learning, Chiron, to heal. And it's the challenge of learning to heal. And again, we have the square is the challenge. Know that if you work through this, it can be difficult, but if you work through it, it's strengthening. And it can create something of value. I always say pressure is what's used to create diamonds. So if you work through this challenge, it could create something valuable, create some diamonds, something of value in your life. And Mercury in Gemini is about learning. And Chiron in Pisces, it can be healing the spiritual nature. It can be healing your ability to see things or see life in situations from a different perspective. So it's the challenge of learning to see life and life situations through a different perspective, or like I said, spirituality from a different perspective. And overall, the intent here is so that you can heal yourself and then serve as inspiration for others. So face the challenges of learning to transcend deep wounds, especially spiritual wounds. Know that learning to heal can be a challenge, and it can strengthen you as well. Be open to lessons of other healers who have or had wounds similar to yours. So you may find a chance of being inspired by someone who has had similar wounds to you, and work and read through there and learn about their story and apply it to yourself, knowing, hey, I can get through this. This shadow, Mercury, Gemini, not learning at all, being that chipmunk on espresso, chattering and just not listening. And Chiron, the shadow of Chiron, is, instead of healing the wound, deepening the wound, embracing the wound, becoming the wound. In Pisces, numbing yourself to the pain. So it's the challenge, and the challenge here in instead of that diamond creating, so that pressure creating a diamond, it creates dust. So the challenge, so if you fall into the shadow of not learning how to heal this wound, it can be destructive and breaking things down and damaging things. So be careful of thinking you know all or thinking that you are healed, or using words as a defense against healing. Also using words to wound, falling into a way of somehow, and it can be slippery. It can be couched in flowery language, etc. But be careful of that. And this can lead to deeper wounding of yourself and other people. And the big one for the week, Saturn in Aquarius is moving station retrograde. It's like in that last degree of Aquarius, and it's putting on the brakes saying, hold on, because Saturn is about maturity, self-discipline, and growth. Slow and steady wins the race here with Saturn. And in Aquarius, becoming your authentic self. So Saturn, before it jumps into Pisces, is saying, hold on. Did you get it? Are you being your authentic self? Did you learn to be your authentic self? Or did you fall into frustration and become that pointless rebel and act up and act out? Or did you sell out and fall into other people's expectations? And note that this is a retrograde, so it's a time of reflection. Saturn is going to look like it's moving backwards in Aquarius. From our perspective on Earth, that's the way it's going to look. It's not, but what this is a chance for a do-over. So if you fell into the shadow during this Saturn transit, it's a chance for you to say, hey, wait a second, I'm not being my authentic self. I'm going to make the changes and become my authentic self. Mature, grow up, do that hard work. And note that if you do the work, Saturn gives the reward. Saturn gives you hard work, but then if you do that hard work, gives you a great reward. However, if you don't do the hard work, Saturn is a stern disciplinarian, and we're talking that mean high school or school age principal, vice principal, whatever, with that phone call home, whatever, that mess. Yeah, 21 years of teaching. Been there, done that, got photos. Stinks. And the big question is here is what you're doing really true to you? If it is, how can you make it better? If it isn't, what steps can you take to become more authentic? Falling into that shadow, becoming that wild by becoming more and resisting the learning is just a disaster waiting to happen. Finding excuses for mindless and pointless rebellion, conforming expectation of others is just falling into a disaster, and it's just giving in and selling out, or just giving up and acting out. It's a disaster waiting to happen, and you reap what you sow. You sow authenticity, you'll reap a great reward. You get into that shadow, and you'll reap a great disaster. And this is going to be I can't remember off the top of my head, and my notes are in another room. I'm just still rearranging this house. So this is going to be for a good portion of this year. So Saturn moves very slow. So this is going to be for a good portion of the rest of this year. So you're going to have an opportunity to become your authentic self. Friday, we have the third quarter moon in Pisces. And the challenge here, the sun in Pisces is the self, is your learning. The sun is your ego, your core self. You came here to learn how to have a healthy ego. So the sun in Gemini is learning. And the challenge here is the moon is releasing these old ideas, these old inspiration, but the sun still wants to dig into them. So the challenge is here is for the sun to sit down and say, or the self to say, okay, that's an old idea. I've learned a lot about it. We can visit it maybe another time. And to be, the challenge here is to be able to let go of old ideas, old inspiration, and accept new inspiration. So that's what we're kind of getting ready to move towards. The shadow of this, the sun can be a know-it-all, egotistical know-it-all, or egotistical, I can't learn it all, but egotistical nonetheless. And we've talked about the moon in Pisces, moody, acting up, acting out, and falling into these fantasies. The challenge, grinding, and like I said, the square, you do the work, you make a diamond, you're falling into the shadow, you're blowing into dust. You've beaten this idea. This is an idea that's just been ground into dust, and you're just going to be going around in circles, living a fantasy, thinking that you're learning more, and it's just recovering old ground, not embracing anything new, and it's going to be numbing and nothing new learned. Face the challenge of releasing an old vision so you can embrace a new one. Take time to rest, renew yourself, prepare for re-inspiration. It's always a challenging thing to take around, do that. Failure can have you falling into a mind-made fantasy, leaving you uninspired, feeling mechanical and tired. So yeah, that's what you can fall into. That's bad. And Saturday, June 29th, Mercury in Gemini is sextile to Uranus in Taurus. So Mercury sextile again is an excitement. So Mercury excited to learn about being an authentic individual. Mercury in Gemini, like I said, Mercury rules it. So this is really learning about being stable in your identity and who you are as an authentic individual, and how to ground yourself in that authenticity. Let's see, it can be an excitement learning how to find stability, being authentic and real. Also learning your own truths and finding stability in them. So there's an opportunity for you to learn about your own truths, find that peace, find that stability, find that strength in them as well. You may find information by coincidence. Things may just fall into your lap. Say, oh, wow, this is cool. That's always a good thing. You get a gift, say thank you. Pay attention to them. They can be very, very helpful. The shadow, Mercury can be that know-it-all or can't learn and endlessly chattering. And this can be verbal chatter or mental chatter. And Uranus can be that eccentric rebel acting up and acting out in its own way. I am a know-it-all. You can't teach me anything. Or that conformist who's selling out and trying to find peace in selling out and not. And that rebel would actually not be, finding stability. It'd be like that bull in a china shop, just destroying everything. So yeah. So be careful of looking for new ways to be rebellious or selling out, thinking that will bring you peace and stability. It was more likely to bring you boredom. And if you're a bull in a china shop, an expensive bill and a lot of damage. And on Sunday, we have the moon entering Aries. And again, the moon, we said it, is your emotional self in Aries, is learning to have courage and face the challenge. And challenge of what, and this is the releasing cycle, releasing your fears. What are you afraid of? The moon is saying, let's let it go. So expect opportunities to be bold. It's time to let go of your fears. Competition or challenge you may arise. These are here to strengthen you. And as you notice, Mercury or the sun will be going over Mars. So it's really going to get a little boost and a help here. Nice ideal time for you to release those fears. The shadow of this transit, being moody and falling into anger. This is be like explosive anger, temper tantrum stuff, or falling into fear. And we're talking that nervous breakdown, teary-eyed stuff. So be careful of falling into fear and hiding away, or falling into anger and rage. Taking your temper out on innocent targets is just going to be a bad experience for everybody involved, especially you. And this is very, very, very late Sunday night. What I do when I make my charts, if that weekly chart that I show at the beginning, is I do my transits for the week, and then I map everything out, and then I create a birth chart for midnight on the first day, and then I create a second birth chart for 11:59 on the last day, and I write down where the planets are at the beginning of the week and where they are at the end of the week. And right before midnight Eastern time, it's about 11:30ish. You can see it's 0 degrees 1 minute. Mercury enters Cancer. So people in the Eastern time zone not likely to feel this. It's more like the central mountain. As you go west, you're going to be the ones more likely to feel this. And then you go into those specific time zones, and then you hit the time travel zone called the international date line, and something happens there. I've still got to figure out whether if you go west, are you going into yesterday or tomorrow? And if you go east, are you jumping forward or back? It's something. I'll remember it one of these days. But nonetheless, Mercury enters Cancer, and this is you learning to take care of and nurture yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you cannot help anybody else. Very, very important lesson here. I have some friends that work on airplanes as stewards and stewardesses. And, plane goes into turbulence and those masks fall down. First thing they tell you to do is put the mask on yourself, make sure you're okay, and then check the people around you. That's what this is. You learning to take care of you. What are your needs? Remember, the Cancer's got the crab shell, so you're learning how to protect and defend yourself because the Cancer has the crab. And I know back in ancient times, Cancer meant something else. It's just the modern day, meaning of that is just ick. So, but the crab has those claws, so it's also learning to defend yourself as needed. So it's time to learn how to take care of yourself, also nurture yourself, become more self-aware and sensitive to your own needs, and putting your own needs first. Be aware of the rationalizations used to avoid doing this. Learning self-compassion and forgiveness can be healing. So just learning to take care of yourself so you can heal. Very, very important. And so taking that time to rest, pull into that shell. And it's okay to say no once in a while. It can be a good thing. The shadow, Mercury. Again, that infamous know-it-all or can't learn. And Cancer can become invisible. Cancer can also be smothering. I would say mothering, but it's smothering and taking care of everybody else and doing things for them. And so people just dump their needs on you and you can get exhausted and burned out. So instead of be careful of letting self-care fall away behind other obligations. And this is taking care of everybody else. It's possible to hurt yourself or others with words and not realize it. So look at how you're using your language. Are your words healing or hurting? Especially of yourself. Also be aware of the reverse golden rules, treating others as you treat yourself, because face the facts, you're going to be harder on yourself than you will be on other people. So, think about some of the things you say to yourself. Would you say those to your best friend? Probably not. So be careful of that reverse golden rule and saying it out loud. It can be very, very damaging to yourself and to those around you. And it can be accidental injuries. So, and there we go. And a special event, I got more information. I will be working with my friend, Dr. Danny. She does specialize in the Venus. And it will be a special course on the nodes of the moon. And I got to get her website there. Yeah, so she asked me to teach a course on the south node of the new moon and the north node of the moon. This will be available. We're looking to launch August 8th, 2024. My current plan is, and this is my understanding with Dr. Danny, and if I make a mistake here, I'm sure she'll post and tell me, but I'm looking at 3 videos that you'll be able to watch. One exclusively on the south node, what it is, how it can appear in the houses and the signs. One video on the north node, what it is, what it means, and how it can manifest in the houses and the signs. And then a third video, which I give you a template that you can use in a birth chart and read a birth and integrate this into a birth chart to help people understand how south node, they hold themselves back, and how they can realize a life purpose with the north node. And my current understanding is that during this course, there's going to be, probably after the 3rd session, is going to be a live one-to-one for people who have bought the course, and you'll be able to be live one-to-one and ask questions and get answers from me. That is my current understanding. More information soon. So you can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I am on all of them. I got to learn how to write for LinkedIn better. So yeah, but I'm on all of these. I'm also on the Digital Soul Space, which is it's a spiritual social media site that is privacy focused. It's got 3 moderators and they're very good. It's a troll-free zone. And so you're sitting there and it's donation based now. They made it free and they're asking for donations. And if you do, they have this like special icon you get on your profile, which is really, really cool. And you're saying all of these are free. Why do I want this one? These are free, but they're harvesting your data and making billions. Unless you meet certain criteria, you don't get a penny of it. And those who are getting money aren't getting what they really make. Stockholders are getting more money than they are. Digital soul space is your data is private. Nobody gets it. Have fun. And there's astrology on there, crystals, tarot, oracle cards, you name it, it's on there. You can go in, ask questions, and somebody's going to answer. So it's really, really cool and interesting. Oops, I got to go back one. My bad. Escape site reminder. And still working on making changes. So this is the site. This is where you can go. And, you know, I have the different keys and we've got it laid out. First set of keys is your birth chart and karmic chart. And I had a reading for the quick pick, which combines them both into one reading. Second set of keys that I give you are the horoscopes. So it's a life cycle, which is looking at the outer planets in relation to their natal position and what that tells us. You'd be surprised how much information that gives us. A yearly horoscope, which are the major themes for the year. I can break that down into 3-month chunks. So what are the major lessons over a 3-month block? And then a monthly horoscope where we're looking at what's happening in that month. And for the month, my preference is to do it from new moon to new moon, because that's the natural cycle of a month. The yearly negotiable, all these are negotiable for what the start date and end date is. And I do offer packages. All of these packages, the big picture, and as you can see, there's 3 packages here. All of them add more on, and there's a 10% discount built in if you buy a package. All the way back up to the top. If you click on subscribe, I do a weekly newsletter where you just enter your email address. I send out 1 email a week that gives you a summary of the major events of the week and astrological insight. I take something and I dig into it just a little bit deeper. Exclusive only subscriber discounts and offers. If I do live appearances and events, and the one today got canceled because of the weather, and the next one looks like it might be. Weatherman is not being good to me. Or anybody in some of these events, which really stinks. They're outdoors in rain, wind. But there you go. It's a once-a-week newsletter. If you click on blog, you'll find that's where I do post my weekly transits. And every day I try to do 1 blog post where I take one of these transits and dive into it a lot deeper, and I really explore it. So it's 1 blog post a day. And if you click on services, this is where you can schedule. And what I do when you schedule a service, you schedule, like say you schedule a birth chart, I get it, I make a recording, and I record your full birth chart. You get that Zoom link, you download it, you watch it, ideally at least twice. 3 times is preferred, but you watch it, you take your notes, you'll get a code where you can schedule a one-on-one time with me. And like for the birth chart, for example, you get the birth chart reading, birth chart, yeah. You get a 1-hour one-on-one where you can sit down and ask me for clarifications. Tell me more about this. Or you didn't read this transit. Can you read that transit? I'm curious about it. So it gives you a chance to ask for clarification on something that I said, or take on a transit that I didn't read, and I can work through it with you and give you a better understanding of that. And depending on what you're getting, depends on the length. They go, so there's that. I'm not going to carry that on anymore. Well, let's go back to here. But there you go, slideshow, current slide. Follow me on social media. Like me, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. Thank you very much. Have yourself the best week possible. I hope to be with you next week. And let's all have the best week possible. Thank you.